A very special Tony Messenger segment today in honor of what has transpired over the last 24 hours. Good morning, Tony Messenger.
Good morning, McGraw. Good morning, Kelly.
Hi, Tony.
So we talked yesterday morning. We talked before the judge's ruling in Cole County. I don't think either one of us thought what would have transpired over the next 24 hours. But you were there in the room. Let me ask you a question. What struck you most about yesterday? What was most interesting to you as you watched the news unfold yesterday?
You know, my colleague Robert Cohen, who also happened to be there, we both happened to be there to cover the hearing, and then history is made. He captured an incredible photo on the front of the Post-Dispatch today that just shows the governor walking away, and that was the image that struck me. Is he went out the way he came in. I mean, everything about him yesterday was just awash with secrecy and disingenuousness. I mean, it was, I don't even know if that's a word, but that's what it felt like. It was another stage, and he put on a brief show that was about everybody but himself. And that picture of him walking away alone in shame really struck with me. It was a surreal event. I mean, I'm downstairs in the hearing room, covering the House impeachment hearing after lunch, midday, and start getting text message tips that people are starting to hear that something big is going to happen. And it was funny. I was talking to a colleague of mine, and this is how this story has played out for weeks and months, is that, I tell people that Thursday used to be indictment day. Everybody would be getting all these breathless direct messages and texts saying, it's going to happen today, it's going to happen today, it's going to happen today. And, and then it didn't happen. And of course, eventually it did twice. But yesterday was like that. The Capitol was just a buzz. And then we, stood outside the governor's office for 15 minutes or so, cameras and reporters and just standing out there waiting and watching governor staffers just sort of somberly go in and out of the office before they eventually let us in.
Yeah, Tony, let me ask you this, Tony. He doesn't apologize, admits no wrongdoing. And now there's some speculation whether there was a secret deal, a quid pro quo, or a nudge and a wink, or whatever else. Is it possible that he won't be charged with anything anymore? These charges will go away, and he never admits to any wrongdoing, and he resigns from the governor's race? Is that possible?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I mean, the circuit attorney, Kim Gardner, issued a statement yesterday that said there's going to be some sort of a deal announced related to the stealing of the donor list charge. That's going to happen today. I don't know what that deal is going to be. I don't know if he's still going to admit to a lesser offense or if something else is going to happen. But I think it's possible that he skates. I also think it's possible that there's still more coming. The multiple media outlets have reported that the feds are looking at this stuff, and are they going to continue? There's still a lawsuit going on over open records that I think may end up pressing some of this information out to the public. That's not, a criminal charge, but it will continue if it goes on to shed light on, how this governor operated in a very secretive fashion. But the fact that he resigned so quickly and so suddenly yesterday sure gives some weight to the idea that he knew it was his only way out of certain, potential criminal liability. I think that is quite possible.
Where does Eric Greitens go from here? Somebody said to me yesterday, a pretty well-informed Politico said to me, that just might have been his kickoff campaign for 2020 for governor.
I wouldn't expect to see that, but I wrote a satirical piece some time ago as this story was unfolding that was a conversation between Eric Greitens and George Soros. And at the end of that piece, it was their conspiracy about how this whole thing was going to happen. At the end of that piece, he was going to have his moment on Oprah Winfrey's couch, apologizing to the country and launching his, rebirth tour or whatever you want to call it. This is a man with unbridled ambition who still thinks he did nothing wrong, who thinks the world conspired against him. I suspect he's going to be very quiet for a period of time as he rebuilds his family and personal life and sort of figures out what his next step is. But I will not be at all shocked if either as a TV figure, as an analyst, or even a future candidate for whichever party he decides he believes in at that moment, that he runs again. He throws himself right back out there because it's just not in his DNA to be very self-reflective, and that was pretty obvious yesterday.
Tony, a couple of times today, talking with Greg Willard, our own conversations, the name Tom Schweik came up, and I'd love to get your reaction or your thoughts on that. Yesterday is a byproduct of what happened to Tom Schweik back in February of 2015 when he committed suicide, and that this is part of the ongoing story over the last number of years here in Missouri.
It's absolutely connected and related, and I was talking to somebody yesterday about that month, that March 2015 month, in which the governor had an affair, in which the governor ramped up his campaign, in which it was days after Tom Schweik died, and the governor sends a letter to donors invoking Tom Schweik's name. And I can tell you the Schweik family has never liked Eric Greitens. They don't trust him. They thought he tried to trample on Tom Schweik's name. And the stories, it's amazing how often things come back to Tom Schweik's death, and that month right after it, that month, March of 2015, in which so many of the decisions that Eric Greitens ultimately made that would be his downfall happened. That was at least one of the months in which he was using the Mission Continues donor list. It's just a month when so many different things happen.
Going back to there, you look at the landscape. You had Peter Kinder, you had Catherine Hanaway, you had John Bruner. And after this terrible tragedy of this man being bullied and these over-the-top commercials and whatever mental health issues he had, the electorate said, we're going to go with the squeakiest, cleanest guy possible who has no ties to Jefferson City because they're all dirty down there. And the man wins the primary and then goes on to win the general. And it turns out that, it's just shocking that he was the reaction. The electorate had the correction to go with Greitens, but it turned out, it was a house of cards.
And he was more corrupt than the people that he was, running against. This is the interesting thing, that it will be amazing to watch over the next few years of election cycles in Missouri. Does the love affair with the outsider go away now because we realize that doing electoral politics is hard, and that there is a value in being vetted by the voters time and time again? It will be interesting to see where the state goes the next time some squeaky clean outsider comes along who hasn't been vetted yet. Will the specter of Eric Greitens be fresh in their minds?
It'll be interesting. Tony Messenger, thanks for checking in. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks. Good to talk to you.
Tony
Bye.
Messenger, San Luis Post-Dispatch columnist, giving his perspective. STLtoday.com. He was there yesterday, and he'll be with us tomorrow, or he'll be with us tomorrow regardless, but we'll wait and see what Kim Gardner